Number 16, graph this exponential function, and we've been given f of x equals 3 to the x power. All right, so just because we're graphing an exponential function doesn't mean that we're going to treat this any differently than we would graphing a basic line or a parabola or anything like that. So let's go ahead and create an XY table for ourselves. And really, that's what the previous three questions that we were looking at together were getting us ready to do, was graph, because all we're going to do is choose x values and then evaluate what our function is at those x values, right? So like we looked at here together with number 13, we had the exact same exponential function, f of x equals 3x. We were evaluating at some x value, and we got the y value. So again, we're not doing really anything different, except now once we choose our x's, evaluate, we're just going to plot them on our xy grid here. So I created 5 points here for us. So let's go ahead and find some x values. How about right in the middle we go with 0, usually a pretty good place to start if you can. And from here we can choose 2 x values to the left, meaning 2 smaller x values, and then below we'll choose 2 x values that are larger than 0. So how about -1 and -2 and +1 and +2. We don't have to make things too difficult for ourselves. So we've got a nice range of x's here. Let's now evaluate what this function is at these respective x values. So this is f of -2 equals 3 to the x, but we're now saying x is -2, so that is 3 to the -2 power. We know we can't have negative exponents, so we're going to bring this whole thing from the numerator to the denominator, which is going to give us 1 over 3 squared. And we know 3 squared is simply 9, so we end up with 1 over 9. So when x is -2, the y value, that corresponding y value, is 1 over 9. All right, let's go ahead and find out what our y value is when x is -1. So again, 3 to the -1 power. We can't have negative exponents, so we're going to take this whole thing, move it from the numerator to the denominator. When we do that, that clears the numerator, so we have to replace the numerator with a 1. And now we have 3 squared, that's not squared, 3 to the first. When we brought this exponent, this 3 to the -1, downstairs, it became positive. So we have 1 over, and 3 to the first is simply 3. So when x is -1, the corresponding y value is 1/3. All right, chugging along here. Let's evaluate this function at 0. So we're saying 3 to the 0 power. Well, we know anything to the 0 power is simply 1. So when x is 0, y is 1. All right. How about 1? 3 to the first is simply 3. And here we have f of 2, so we're evaluating this function at 2, and we know 3 squared is simply 9. All right, so we've got our x's, we've got our y's. The only thing left to do is plot these points, so let's do that. Let's see, I might want to zoom in here just a little bit. Let's see. Maybe we can go a little more. All right, we'll see what that looks like. So let's plot -2, 1 over 9. Because notice these y values are really small here, right? 1 over 9 is really small, 1/3 is really small. It's going to be difficult to see on this graph, but that's okay. We'll do our best. So -2 on the x, up 1 over 9. So if we start at the origin, -2 on the x, so 1, 2, and we're going up on the y, 1 over 9. So that is super close to that x-axis. So it's going to be hard to see that shift in y. Here, -1 on the x, up 1/3 on the y. So starting at the origin, left 1 and going up 1/3 on the y. So again, that is a small value of y, so hard to see. And then I'll go ahead and pull back out here on the screen a little bit. All right, so now we can evaluate 0, 1. That's probably a little easier to see. So 0, 1. 1, 3, 1, 3, and finally 2, 9. So 1, 2, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And there we have it. So let's go ahead and do our best to connect all of these points. And, well, we could probably do a little better job down there. Let's see. All right. So what's happening here is that the y values, this graph is getting infinitely close to the x-axis, but it will never touch the x-axis. So it's going to get really close, infinitely close, but never quite touching the x-axis. So we have number 16, our graph of the exponential function, f of x equals 3x.